Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Bagman, and this is a new horror film from director Colm McCarthy and writer John Holm. And this film stars Sam Claflin as an adult who wound up coming back home, and this evil, sinister entity from his childhood has come back to haunt him, his family, and try to get his son. And this is based off of like the mythos around the Bagman, this creepy entity who tries to steal children, paralyzes adults, and sticks them in this zipped up sack. And the film really relies on like the sound of the zip and the zipper to try to build some suspense. Now, I think some of the design of like the Bagman and his creepy little doll, it's creepy, for sure. I do feel like as you get towards like the third act of the movie where you get to see him moving a lot more, it seems a little silly and it kind of takes away from like the scares of it. I do feel like there's some decent building of tension, but then there's other scenes where everything feels so rushed that you don't get to get that tension and suspense and that build up doesn't pay off. And this film has some decent kinds of scares, but consistently is not really that scary. And this film really relies upon this like generational trauma, this trauma from him being a young man. I think Sam Claflin does a really fine job here. I think the rest of the cans, Antonia Thomas, who plays his wife, they do fine. But I feel like Sam Claflin's really trying to carry this movie that is using a lot of cliches in terms of like, oh, we found this out from this book that's going to tell us all the mythology, or we looked it up on this website, or we have this one like case file. It's like, oh, this spells out the whole entire MO or approach of this evil entity, and you have those kinds of things. The film really tries to build up that connection with this family, this husband, wife, and son, and I think it does a fine job. And then you have Sam Claflin's Patrick having these elements from his childhood coming back, and his father and the advice that his father had given him and trying to protect himself. And then you have this whole entire aspect of this film where the film thinks it's tricking you into thinking that it's about one thing and this approach, and then tries to have like this big reveal in the third act, when in actuality it overly telegraphed everything and none of this was a surprise. And then when the film tried to act like it was a surprise, it wasn't. And there's a lot of logic issues in this movie. Like the whole third act is just throw logic out the window. It just becomes absolutely ridiculous and silly and over the top. And it's really trying to have some real emotional moments, but just everything about the story around it's just not clicking in a way to make those moments really stick. And in the end, this film squanders the Sam Claflin performance, has some potential in terms of its scares and stuff like that. It just is very inconsistent from a scares standpoint, and then from a narrative standpoint, it's just so shallow and silly at times, and really confusing in its logic to make this feel really cohesive and engaging. But those are my thoughts on Bagman. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.